Okay, on today's 1968 Camaro project adventures, we're going to continue with the rust repair on the driver's side rocker. Whenever they put the new quarters on this thing, because they did that, several years ago, they did kind of a hack job. And there's a flange here, and they just kind of welded to that, and they welded over the top of rusty metal, so they've blown through a lot of places, and they didn't bother fixing that. They just went over it with seam sealer and covered everything, bondoed it, undercoated it, and called it a day. So I've got to cut this out, and I'll start by cutting out this inner wheelhouse out here so that I've got room to look around in here, poke around, and work. I'll also be cutting back this flange. It looks like they added a little bit of metal in here, so I'll be cutting that all off and opening this up and seeing what I've got to work with. If I slide around to the inside, I can see how bad this is somewhat. Drop my light first. Yeah, see this bottom flange here is all full of rust. The innermost flange there is gone for the most part, and the upper flange is all full of rust. So I was hoping that I wouldn't have to do as much repair on this side as the other side, but we'll open her up and find out. Okay, I'm trying to figure out where I want to cut off this inner wheelhouse to gain access to all of this. And I've got a little bit of an issue in that this inner quarter panel right here is rusty. This is the inner quarter structure that goes all the way up. The wheelhouses, the way that this is originally made, it goes inner wheelhouse, then outer wheelhouse, then inner quarter panel, and then outer quarter panel is over there. Whenever they replaced the outer wheelhouse, they just hacked off that outer wheelhouse and welded the new outer wheelhouse to the outside of this inner quarter piece. So that left this rusty old piece of that outer wheelhouse flange still in here. So I may need to do some repair in this area. I don't want to do a whole lot of repair in this area, so I don't want to take off this whole inner wheelhouse, but if I open this up here and then I can access this a little bit in here, I think I'll be all right, and I think I'll be happy. So I think I'll just cut it right there and open it up and see what I got. All right, that was some ugly ass patchwork. What they did is they extended this flange out over here and just put it right over the top of rusty metal. And if we pull this out of here, you'll see there's what's left of that inner wheelhouse that was rusty whenever they patched it. And here's what their patch turned into. It just keeps on rusting. Like if you don't cut it out and replace it, it just keeps getting rustier and rustier. And put this guy here out, and you can see they got some pretty gnarly welds, and they just kind of went over the top of stuff and made it look they made it function, but not very well. Anyway, peeling back some more and see what we got. Okay, I got this trimmed back, and I got this all cleaned up. These flanges in here. This bottom one's just a little thin on the top. I might be able to patch that in. This side one over here, it kind of goes into that mid-rocker material, and then this guy here's got some holes in it, so it'll need to be patched. Swing around to the inside and see what we got going on in here. Jesus. Okay, yeah, we'll cut this guy here back. There's a little bit of rust in there. I think I'll probably do a little patch in there as well as down in this area. I think to access all of this in here, I might as well do what I did last time and just cut this back here, and then I can patch this lower section all at once, because there's this internal piece here that also needs to be patched back in here. All right, before I go cutting and patching on the inside of that rocker area there, I want to take a look at this outer rocker, because whenever they put the quarter panel on here, they didn't line up the quarter and the rocker very well, and they ended up filling this with Bondo. I want to strip the Bondo off this outer rocker here and see what I'm dealing with, just in case there's some surprise in there, okay? Good news, everyone! This outer rocker isn't rusty like the other side. mean, it's got that big hole in the front, but other than that, it's just got the little screw holes. A couple screw holes there, screw hole there, screw hole there, a couple of screw holes back here. There's a little bit of a dent there, but nothing serious, so that makes me happy. I'll formulate a plan and start cutting out some of the stuff over here. Let's do that. All right, let's pull back the curtain and see how she looks. Oh yeah, rusty and dirty and ugly. This back area here is what I'm really concerned about, that, and down along here. This lip here seems to be nice and solid. There's some pitting along the back here, but I don't really want to have to replace any of that. I'll clean it up and take a look at it and see what I got. Alright, I cleaned this area up as best I could with the wire wheel and whatnot, and it's pretty pitted. So I figure, you know, I might as well, since I've got it opened up here, I might as well fix it right. So let's get to it. We'll build this inside piece first and work our way out and see how it goes. Got a piece of 16 gauge here, and I've scribed kind of where I want to cut it as well as where I want to bend it. I've got this new diamond cutoff wheel here. I'm going to give that a try. Let's cut this guy up and start making a patch. All right, got my piece cut out there. Little blade there worked all right. I think it'll take a little getting used to, but now let's bend the flanges in this guy. All right, after just a couple minutes in the poor man's sheet metal brake, I bent the flanges in it. We can test fit it and see how she looks and make room for the drain. Okay, I trimmed it up just a little bit here on this side. It's fitting in there pretty good. I need to mark where I want to put the drain and put the drain in there. Okay, I marked on here where I want my drain to be. The drain's got parts that angle up, and then it's got a flat across the top and then an angle back down. So I marked kind of where I want the flat to be as well as where the angles are. I flipped it over and scribed that to the back so that I've got a nice straight lines here. And then I took a cutoff wheel and started cutting this, and then I used the air saw to make a nice crisp corner there. Then I'm going to take a fender hammer, this guy right here, and beat that until it's down where I want it. I can use my vise as kind of a guide. I open up the jaws to where I want that metal to stay flat, and then I just stretch it out in the middle in between that, and I get a pretty nice little arc to it there. Afterwards, I'm going to come in and cut off this excess metal in here and weld it shut, and then next thing you know, you've got a drain. Pretty spiffy. Once I get it curved about the way that I like it, I'll come in with this carbide burr and just take out all this material that I don't need. Alright, just doing a little bit of test fitting before I weld up the back of that drain hole right there. And I think she's looking pretty good. I'm pretty happy with it. Let's break out the hot glue gun and stick it together. Just a little bit of the zip zap and she's good to go. Grind that smooth and move on. Alright, now that I've got that piece made, I'll go ahead and start making this piece here. Just a piece of flat with a couple flanges bent into it, and then cut the drain, same as the other one. Here's a little glimpse of what I'm using for a brake. I've got a piece of 3/16 flat bar that's about 2 inches wide. And I've got a piece of 1/8 inch that's also 2 inches wide. And I sandwich my piece in between those, and then I bend it over the 3/16 piece after I've got it clamped in the vise here. It works really well, it gives me nice crisp bends, and I like it. And voila, you get a piece with some pretty nice little bends in it. We can fit this up there and see if she works. Yep, I think that there will work like a dandy. Now I just need to mark out where to put the drain and insert the drain. Alright, this side here has got a bit of a taper to it. So I've drawn that on here, and whenever I go to bend that, I'll try and make it taper so it matches that. Just like that, I got the drain made. Tapered. I've still got to weld it and stuff, but moving right along. Here's how that patch looks underneath. I've still got a little bit of trimming to do on it, but she's fitting up there real nice. Looking good. I'm pretty happy with it. Now I can start cutting out that inner structure and fitting in the inner piece. Okay, I've got the inner structure here cut out, just so this piece here fits right in there. Now I can start cutting this piece here off. I'm going to start by cutting the flanges. Cut this flange off, cut this flange off, fit the other piece up underneath it here, and then that'll allow me to line up this front edge as well as this back side exactly where I want it, and then I can scribe around it where I want to cut this off. Okay, I went ahead and cut out that whole section there and got this fitting up in there real nice the way that I like it. It's nice and smooth and even. The gaps are a little goofy in places, but that'll be all right. Let's take a look underneath this thing. Yeah, I think that'll be just fine. Yeah, let's clean it up. Hit it with some weld through primer. I've got to drill some holes for plug welds. And yeah, then I can burn this in. Okay, she's ready to be welded in there. I'll start with doing some tacks around on this inner piece here, and then I can adjust it a little bit if I need to. And once I get that tacked in real good, then I'll work on the bottom piece. Okay, it's all welded in here, ground down the welds. It's looking real good, nice and sturdy, nice and solid. Let's take a look underneath. Yeah, real smooth. Nice job there. I'm real happy with it. I think it looks really good. Slide around out here. Yeah, I think she'll work. Looks good. Okay, now that that's all fixed up, I can repair this inner rocker piece. It's crusty and gross, but I think we can patch that. Okay, I got a little ahead of myself here and started on the repair without actually filming anything, but first thing I want to do is make a patch piece for this little guy. So I cut a square steel about the same shape, same size as that guy right there. Now it's got a little bit of a contour to it, right there. So what I did is just clamp this in the vise, beat it one way, then turned it over and beat it the other way, and it fits in there pretty good. Then I clamped it up here and cut it to size a little bit. It's looking pretty good. Now I had that clamp to it and cut this off, so now it'll go right back in that exact same spot, just like that. So yeah, got that patch kind of made, so we'll set that off to the side for now, and we'll take a look at the bigger area, because we'll clean everything up. I'll patch the major area and then come in and put that patch back on there. Now then, for the larger patch on this, I got a rectangle piece of 16 gauge, lined up this edge here with this corner, and then laid it across here, clamped it to it, and then used this as a template to cut the length. Now it's still got lots of width to it. I'm going to need to cut that down a little bit, so I'll do that. Okay, I took this apart. I cleaned the mill scale off my patch piece. I cleaned up and sandblasted the remaining rocker piece that's going to stay. This is actually made out of galvanized steel, and galvanized steel doesn't like to be welded on, so you got to clean that galvanizing off of there. My plan is to cut through both pieces and tack weld as I go. But first off, I want to cut this profile in here. See how this got a little step down? Yeah, I want to trim that up and get that looking good, nice and even, and then I can start cutting with the air saw through both pieces and then tack welding as I go. Okay, I cut that little notch in there to give it the same profile. I also used a cutoff wheel to make a little notch there and there so that my air saw will start in a nice spot and I can start cutting on this and welding it as I go. Alright, I've been cutting on this here, cutting through both pieces of metal, and once I've got this far I can take off this piece here. Let's see if I can do that one-handed. Back off this clamp a little bit the easy way so it doesn't smack my fingers, and pull this piece here off, and you'll see that the new piece is just replacing the old piece. Now I can throw a couple tacks in here and it'll stay together where it's supposed to be, and I can finish cutting it. Okay, threw a couple of tacks in it and finished cutting her out there. Let's see if it worked. Held together for that, but yeah, you can see it's a whole new piece now. Now I just got to go through and weld it together there, and then she'll be done. Yeehaw! Here's the piece that cut off there, and you can see it just makes a perfect patch there. Just clamping it together, tacking it a couple places, cutting it off there. Now I can weld her up. Okay, got it all welded up and ground down. You can see where I wasn't exactly lined up with the panel whenever I welded it there. You end up with kind of a ridge. But that's what it used to look like, and that's what it looks like now. Now I'm going to switch over and do the inside piece here. See, this little guy here needs to go on there. Something like that. So let's do that. All right, a little bit of welding, a little bit of grinding, and it's on there. I did a butt weld there and a plug weld there. And now she's about done. I just need to cut the drain hole. Cut the drain hole as well as drill a couple holes for spot welds there, plug welds, and I can start fitting it up on the car. There we go. Got plug weld holes, drain hole. Gave her another good coat of weld through primer on the back side, and I'm going to start fitting her up there and welding her in. Alright, I've got it fit up here in place. Got this joint nice and smooth and across here. I can start throwing some tacks in there. It'll need a bit of shaping back here on this end a little bit, but once I get that tied together, then I can push this in and get it fitting up there real nice. Okay, I've got that seam there all welded up. Now I can clamp it up here where I like it, beat on the metal a little bit to kind of get it to conform to both pieces so that it's fitting up nice and tight, and now I can go ahead and burn her in. Okay, all welded in, looks good. Now I just got to grind it down and I'm done. I can move on to bigger and better things. Okay, got her all ground down. She's looking good. I'm real happy with it. If we take a look at the lengthwise of it, yeah, nice and straight, smooth. Looks pretty decent. I'm pretty happy with it. It'll probably outlast me, but that's alright. I like it. Pretty good. Here it is from this angle. Looks good. Real happy with it. Yes, sir. I'm gonna go drink some beer now. Cheers.